is the invitation to travel to Cuba. As a fact-finding tour comes up. Would you go?
Interesting. That depends on what that fact-finding mission is about. I am.
Or you can tailor it.
I am. Well, just put it this way. I'm going to put it to you this way.
What conditions you would put to go to Cuba?
Well, the conditions will be hopefully the release of political prisoners that would hopefully adhere to the 96 federal law. A major discussion about free and open elections, because I'm for.
The release of prisoners before you go or while you're there? To discuss the release while you're there, or is it something you have to do before you go?
I would go to if there's going to be a release of dissidents, you know, that would bring about more democracy in Cuba.
What did they tell you? Well, we're not going to release them, but if you come down here, we'll talk about it and we'll see what we do.
Well, let me answer your question, because every step I go, you add more ingredients.
Because I know what they're going to ask you.
Yeah. Well, here's the story. I've always been open to seeing the release of dissidents. And let me tell you, let me just give 2 minutes and then we can get into the colloquy. I think it's important for us to see a free Cuba. Now, we know the embargo has been in place, and I'm a supporter of the embargo. There have been other ingredients that have been added. Will U.S. travel bring about a better snapshot of what democracy is all about? Social networking, will it help bring Cuba, will expose the Castro regime for what they've been doing? And the Women in White was the last example of that being recorded. Same thing that happened in Iran, and beatings in the street that changed international opinion of who they are. A free Cuba will bring about a better opportunities, not only for those that are depressed in Cuba, but also better economic opportunities for Florida as it relates to travel to Cuba. And also then some of the environmental concerns, especially when it comes down to oil drilling in Cuban waters, that will affect Florida waters. As a member of that committee, keeping the pressure on and sitting down at the table of compromise that will push the ball forward. Now, I won't go to Cuba on a hope and a prayer. You know, I will go to Cuba to make sure that something will happen. Dante Fascell and also Mr. Lehman, if you remember, actually brought home, well, not brought home, but helped free those that were in prison by the Castro regime. Dante Fascell pushed the legislation for what we see now as the Cuba Readjustment Act. I think it's important to move towards a free Cuba, but not allow it to be a photo parade of saying that the senator from Florida is here and he doesn't have anything to show for it. There would have to be something substantial that would show forward progress towards democracy. I think as a leader that we have to engage Cuba in a way unlike we've engaged them in the past. I think it's important to remember that there could very well be a Mandela locked up in a Cuban prison. And we don't want Cuba to become free and all of a sudden an individual who's sitting there saying, I wish the U.S. would have done more to fight for democracy and freedom here in Cuba versus siding with the Castro government. I
want to ask you another question. You have Cuba, Haiti, Afghanistan, Iraq, but you don't. I want to ask you about Venezuela.
That's something that we need to amend.
Okay.
That's what happens when you're doing this at 1
o'clock
in the
fine.
morning.
That's fair enough. Can we push any kind, have any leverage on Hugo Chavez as long as we continue to buy X number of millions of barrels of oil per day? I mean, in a way, we bash him, but we're the ones largely.
We bash him, but it goes into the doctrine that we're supporting. You know, not doctrine, but I would say we're supporting his rhetoric. I watched him chase President Obama around the conference room table at the Summit of Americas when I traveled down with the president. He's a person that is very, very dangerous as it relates to economic policy in the Americas. I was just recently at the Biltmore at a conference dealing with the Americas and what his influence on the region and throwing around his not only natural resources but financial assistance. Colombia, constant visits to Cuba, because he needs partners, Nicaragua, and other countries like it, Iran. I feel that we have to become more and more energy independent to keep the pressure on the Hugo Chavez of the world. And until we invest in new energy initiatives, and not just talking about it, because we have a big push and pull here in this country about do we want to be energy independent? Do we want to push Detroit to have more energy efficient vehicles? Do we want to move policy forward that will create jobs? Now, I think, I don't want to segue away from what you asked me, but I just want to say, for these jobs that we speak of on the campaign trail, they will never truly develop until we start taking bold steps forward. I mean, there has to be some forward leaning. Now, in this race, you have one candidate that's saying, just let the free market dictate our economy. You give people the opportunity, and the American ingenuity and thought process will prosper. That's all in, you know, going back to what I said before, who's for out of control spending. Then you have another candidate that doesn't know what he wants to do, but to say that I'm an independent now, I can be on both sides of the issues, even though my history speaks different, you know, to those issues, and where I've stood on them.